All right, we are live. Give me a second. I just have to double check and make sure all of our sources are actually live. Unfortunately, StreamYard took the ability to stream directly to so now I have to make it on the group, I have to go to the page and then share it to the group. All right. We are now live going over the OCT standard rule book for 2025. I got to do that for one other group. Give me 1 second. It's posting away. In the meantime, if you look on your screen, we have Raccoon Creek Outfitters up. Raccoon Creek Outfitters is our main sponsor this year. They are responsible for giving away 2 kayaks and 2 trails, giving us a lot of money for the National Kayak Trail. So even if I unfortunately forgot to list their logo on one of our banners, they sponsor the whole thing. And I'll probably go and update that. All right, Cat Yackers. Now I'm in the Cat Yackers one. Let's go to the group. Let's go to the Cat Yackers Lounge. All right, we're posting this away. The owner, Dustin, love him to death. I believe he's down in Florida right now. A little jealous of him. So now I just have to make sure I am actually live in the Cat Yackers Lounge. Once I know I'm live there, then we'll just get right to it. Posted, we're live there. Very good. Online catfishing tournaments, we are live there. Very good. All right. Let me go back onto the online catfishing tournaments Facebook account. That way I don't show anything personal when I start going through these tabs. All right. Catfishing Chaos. What's up, Eric? Hooks and Hammocks. What's up, guys? Very good. Now I'm back in my yard, and now I can start. Oh, man, StreamYard. Actually, it's not StreamYard's fault. It's Facebook's fault. Facebook removed the ability to stream to groups. Now we can start going over what we're going over. Anyone who's watching, if you're watching this on a rerun or if you're watching this live, no questions on specific trail events tonight. This is just going over our standard rule book, which essentially applies to everything. If you're watching this, remember this rule book was created originally when we were kayaks and cats, and we were strictly kayak only. So you might see some verbiage as we go down the rule book that is strictly pertaining to kayaks. We're not only a kayak scene anymore, but unless you just comb that entire rule book every single year, you're not going to be able to change all the wording. And even if you do, which I do every single year, sometimes you overlook stuff. So that's that. Again, giant shout out to Raccoon Creek Outfitters. Love you guys to death. Let's start moving forward. First and foremost, if you want to fish anything that we host, if there is an event on our app, it's the Fishing Chaos app. If there's an event in our group on the app, you have to be a member. So download the Fishing Chaos app, look up, and I'll show you how to get there. Once you download the Fishing Chaos app and you have your I gotta update my my credit card information apparently, and you have your account info created, look up online catfishing tournaments. Click on that, and then right down here, it'll say join. You'll see that I don't have a join button because I'm already a member. Looks like 17 people have already signed up this year. Thank you. It's $20 for the whole year, one-time fee. You don't have to pay for $20 every single tournament. It's a one-time fee. Essentially pays for your insurance. I don't see any profit off of that until we hit about 50 subscribers, because our insurance is about $1,200 or $1,100 this year. So actually, no, I don't really see any of that until we hit about 60 or 65 members. So after we break 65 members, yes, am I getting profit? But I dump it all right back into the scene. This is essentially a nonprofit organization. Where do you find our rule book? On your Facebook, go to the online catfishing tournaments group. So let me actually show you how to get to it by search. Start typing online catfishing tournaments. Go to our pinned comments, click on the pinned comment, click on this, and it will automatically download it. You should be able to read it on your phone, or you should be able to read it on your computer. Now let's get off of Facebook as fast as possible so nothing personal pops up. And let's go into the rules. All right. Very first thing, no, if there's any conflicting rules on the event page, that will override any rules in this rule book. So this is the event page. So when you're in a tournament, when you click on the tournament, so this is just an example of one tournament from last year. You're on the event page, you scroll down here. These are special rules for this specific event. If anything in this writing contradicts our rule book, this supersedes our rule book. So if you're in a tournament and you notice someone breaking a standard rule, if you before you send me a message, please double check the event page and make sure they're not actually breaking a rule. It's actually pretty common that we will have a special rule for a special event out here that may supersede a rule in the rule book. All right, and now the meat of this whole thing. We are going to go down. I probably won't go line for line just because a lot of this stuff. This yes, it's an 11-page rule book, but a lot of this stuff is just legal jargon stuff you have to have in a rule book just to CYA in the event we ever have to go to court or we get sued or anything like that. A lot of it doesn't even pertain to fishing. So size matters, cat. Oh, that's a great name. What's up, guys? Um, so yeah, we're not going to go line for line, but we are going to hit the important stuff, and we're definitely going to hit the stuff that is a giant change or a brand new addition from last year. All right, this essentially says challenges the pronoun are used generic, gender neutral. Yeah, that's definitely just legal jargon. Let's see here. Uh, Species is essentially explaining we fish for catfish, the three main species. There'll be a director. Yeah, this is legal jargon, nothing special yet. You must be an OCT member on the TMS app to require any fishing event in the OCT. TMS means Tournament Management System. So we use Fishing Chaos. That's our tournament management system. There are others that are out there. I won't use anything else but Fishing Chaos. I don't think anything else relatively comes close to how good it is. So we're going to continue using Fishing Chaos. Professional fishing guides. This is a new one. It's not new. It's an adjusted rule. So professional fishing guides may register and compete in events, but may not guide for monetary gain while they are competing. Guides may not have received compensation on that body of water for the previous 30 days on the event start. You cannot pay for professional fishing services on that body of water within 30 days of the start of the event. You may not have participated in a guide trip in any fashion on that body of water within 30 days of submission of a fish from that body of water. If you were on a watercraft in which guide services took place in any fashion, whether as, but not limited to, the captain, deckhand, or client, paid or unpaid, you cannot submit fish from that body of water for 30 days in any OCT events. So what I'm going to tell you is I already caught one error because this needs to say catfishing in there. It is catfishing guided services. It's not like it. So for instance, if you're on Erie and you were spending a week there to fish our Sandusky event and you wanted to go out on a walleye charter trip, that's perfectly legal. I will be updating that language and I'll be reposting this because that needs to say catfishing guided services, not general guided services. I do apologize about that. But again, I'm human. I wrote this book. A lawyer didn't write this book. I wrote this book essentially. That's a lie. I stole KBF's book from years ago, made it make sense for catfishing. Yeah, I tweaked it. So yeah, and I'm not a lawyer. So yeah, read that. I'll give you a backstory on it because I think it's fair for everyone to know why we changed our rule to that. And I also don't want two of the guides in our scene to think it's because of them. It actually had nothing to do with them. Their name was never even brought up in this discussion. So again, catfishing guided trips. Remember, I'm going to update that language, get it out there. So the two people it's not about that it does affect is Spencer Bauer, who's river certified, and Timmy King, who does guided trips down in North Carolina. Those two, no one's ever complained about those two. This has absolutely nothing to do with those two. The two main reasons is one, I try and pay attention the best I can to the scene in general, not just our scene, but like catfishing tournaments in general. And if I see an issue that is constantly being complained about, I try and get in front of it and either make a rule or not make it illegal per se before it becomes an issue for us, but I try and get in front of it so no one in our scene can make an excuse if and when it does become an issue for us. So professional fishing guides in the boat world, in the weight world, are complained about 24/7. Like they're constantly complained about. They jump in tournaments. Do they always do well? No. But here's the thing: if they do well, everyone's going to complain about it. I don't actually think they do well enough to skew it. But the problem is there are some scenes out there where people pay for professional fishing guide services for that species the week of the tournament, and those people are consistently doing well, who are competitors. So I'm getting in front of that in our scene, 30 days, and within our scene. And I'm just going to be blunt about it. This might ruffle feathers. Don't care. I've never been one to care about ruffling feathers. We had an angler accused of cheating last year. And the way he was accused of cheating by multiple people was there is a guide where he fishes, and he was accused of cheating by sharing fish with that guide. He worked with that guide. From what I was told, he's a deckhand with that guide, etc. So if you're a deckhand, paid or unpaid, if you're a client, paid or unpaid, if you're a captain of a guided boat, paid or unpaid, you cannot submit a fish in any event, month long, in person tournament. It doesn't matter. You cannot submit a fish in any event for the next 30 days from that body of water. This should prevent that from happening in the future. Now, in the situation I just told you, where this angler was accused of sharing fish with a guide, ironically, we have one banned angler in our scene, and it's that guide. So I told him, see, I'm a different kind of administrator. Like, if you're being accused of cheating, I immediately go to you and I tell you, this is what's being accused of you. If you're doing it, stop it. If you're not doing it, then welcome to the hater club. That's all I'm going to say. Like, I'm not going to let it fester behind your back. I'm not going to let everyone talk crap about you. Forget that nonsense. No. If you're accused of cheating, I'm going directly to you and I'm telling you immediately I'm not going to tell you who. Like, people need to know they can come to me about cheating, and I'm not going to say your name. But I am going to tell you you're being accused. This everyone knows this. I'm not breaking any confidence. Ronnie Paulin got accused of cheating, and Ronnie, you brought it on yourself. Ronnie fishes an area where right next to the area is a restricted section. You're not allowed to fish. And this guy will take pictures in front of the sign that says no fishing, holding the fish up just to antagonize people. So he got accused of cheating. And ask Ronnie Paulin, what was the first thing I did? I messaged him and I said, you were accused of cheating for doing A, B, C, D, whatever. Like, are you doing it? If you're doing it, stop. If you're not, whatever. Explain to me what's going on. He explained to me what's going on. I got it certified by his state's DNR that he was completely legal. I moved on. Yeah, I'm not gonna let an accusation of cheating stand and not let you know what's going on behind your back. So yeah, I just flat out told the angler that's why that's the accusation that's being had of you and this other guy. But they had no proof. Here was the thing, they had no proof. And I told him, like, I'm not doing anything. Like, you're not banned from my events. You're not kicked out. You're not disqualified. All your fish are legal. There's no proof, but this is what's being said about you. Stop it. And so, like, that's where this really came. That's why, because our old rule used to be you couldn't guide like the week of, or it was a lot more lax than it is now. But since he's a deckhand with that other gentleman, this should completely he won't. I mean, I promise you, he won't fish our events now after this, probably. But if he does, like, if he deckhands on that body of water within the last 30 days and he submits a fish, well, now he's disqualified. So yeah, if people don't like that explanation, or if people feel like I'm personally attacking somebody, it is what it is. There was one accusation of cheating last year, one single accusation of cheating last year, and that was the accusation of cheating last year. So it's I do not have a bias against that body of water. It just so happens the issues always come from that body of water. Okay, before I get myself in trouble, let's move on. Event registration, that is its own thing. Entry fees, that's its own thing. Legal jargon, administer entry fees and payouts. So I'm technically allowed to enter anything I want for free. I pay for everything, but this is for future. I also try and think of the future of the scene. There are times where this has to be profitable for the next person who takes it over. I won't be doing this forever. So there are some rules in here where I try and make it profitable for the scene. And on top of that, make it so the next person who takes it over doesn't have to do what I do and still run it relatively successfully. If I place in an event and I have to DQ fish from someone in front of me and I end up jumping them in the position, I don't get that position's payout. For example, if I finish fifth and fifth doesn't have a payout, but third does, and I had to DQ fish that gets me to third, I don't get third's payout. Period. Like if I only get what I would have finished on merit. And so another great example. Let's say we're paying out 3 spots. I take third, but I have to DQ fish that puts me in the first. Well, I only get third place's payout, and then first and second will go down the list. I only get what is on my own personal merit for where I finish if I have to DQ fish to get me higher. That way, you can completely eliminate anyone saying, like, let's say I'm in an event and it's close and I have to make a really unfortunate judgment call and it bumps me up. It doesn't actually help me at all. It might just put me high. It might help my bragging rights. That's it. I cannot financially gain anything by moving up in the charts by DQing someone's fish or penalizing someone's fish above me. Payment, competitors' right to counsel, that's legal jargon. Pre-tournament check-in, legal jargon, captain's meeting participation, that's all event to event. Fish eligibility, we fish for 3 catfish, that's it. Each tournament will tell you which catfish are legal. Let's see here. We'll do videos on how to measure fish. I'm not doing that in this. This is more important. Rules are more important. Videos on how to measure the fish already exist too. That hasn't changed. So if you look up our old videos on how to measure the fish, then you're fine. I make new ones every year just to stay fresh though. Competition period, again, that's self-explanatory. That'll all be in the app. It'll all be in the event. Check-in, again, no check-in. Pre-fishing. All right, here's a new one. So pre-fishing, this is the general rule right here. And then here is a special rule for the King Cat National Kayak Trail. So within 7 calendar days, you may not be on the tournament waters in a watercraft more than 2 calendar days. When you set foot into a watercraft, regardless of the time of day on tournament waters, that entire day counts against your 2 pre-fishing calendar days. Example, if you launch at 5 p.m. on tournament waters leading up to a Saturday tournament, all of Wednesday is now conceded as one of your 2 calendar days, and you have till 11:59 p.m. to get off the water before the next day begins. Then on Thursday, you launch at 10 a.m. on tournament waters. All of Thursday is now conceded as your second day of pre-fishing. You may not be on any watercraft on tournament waters between Friday at 12 a.m. and tournament legal launch time Saturday. What you do on your 2 calendar days is up to you and includes, but not limited to, scanning, bait fishing for tournament species, etc. If a tournament falls on a Saturday, those previous 7 calendar days begins the prior Saturday at 12:01 a.m. You may pre-fish adjacent bodies of water that are not within tournament boundaries in any fashion as long as you wish within that 7-day period. Bank fishing any body of water does not count against pre-fishing days. So let me explain that. I'm going to use the example, but I'm not just going to read it. I'm going to give you like a concrete example. So we have a King Cat National Trail tournament on Saturday. You are allowed to launch anytime after midnight. So from midnight to lines in time, you can launch to get to your spot. That's fine because we don't have a pre-tournament check-in. We do, but not the morning of. So you can launch between midnight, lines in time. Actually, you can launch anytime you want. You can launch after lines in time if you're me. But yeah, let's say you get there Wednesday, and no, let's say you get there. We'll say Tuesday, and you wake up at 7 a.m. You get to the watershed at 9 a.m. You go out on a watercraft. You go out on we'll say your kayak on Wednesday. You go out and you're within tournament waters. The moment you are off that dock on your kayak or any water vessel, that 24-hour period is now one of your full pre-fishing days. So if you launch at 9 a.m. on a Wednesday, your Wednesday is now done. That is one of your pre-fishing days. If you launch at 9 p.m. on Wednesday, your full one pre-fishing day is done. Let's say 2 days later, you have a buddy who lives down there who owns a boat, and he wants to take you out on Friday. You go out there. Well, Friday's a bad example because it's the day before the tournament. Let's say the very next day on Thursday, you have a buddy who has a boat and you guys don't launch till 4 p.m. and you go out and you fish. It doesn't matter what you're fishing for. You're on the body of water. You're in a watercraft. That is your second pre-fishing day. The moment you have to be off that body of water by midnight Thursday night, or you're breaking the rules, because you can only be on a watercraft in a calendar day twice the week leading up to a tournament. Now, if you go down there for a week, let's say, great example, Ryan Bortz goes down there for a week and he goes, we'll just use the next term as an example. On Wheeler, he goes to Gunnersville and fishes on Monday, and then he goes to fish Wilson on Wednesday or Tuesday, and then he fishes Wheeler on Wednesday. That's his first pre-fishing day right there. That's his first pre-fishing day. And then he drives up to Tennessee and fishes a Tennessee River Nickajack. And then he goes over to Gunnersville again on Thursday. And then he comes back and fishes Wheeler on Friday. There's his second pre-fishing day, Wheeler on Friday. You can only be on a watercraft in tournament boundaries 2 days within 7 days leading up to the tournament. If you're there for, like, let's say you have a crazy amount of free time and you're there for 14 days, you can fish from day 14 to day 8 every single day on that body of water. That's fine. That moment we become 7 days within that tournament, you get 2. And it does not matter what you're doing on that watercraft. If you're out there tubing with somebody with no electronics, anything, that's one of your fishing days on that body of water. That's a pre-fishing day. Why do we have this? I like to explain the why. I don't just like to make rules and just say, deal with it. There were a lot of complaints. And I'll be honest, I don't agree with the complaints, but there were a lot of complaints that Kayak Catfish, Ryan Bortz, Adam Flegel, the people who got there early had a ton of pre-fishing time. This is to hopefully not remove that completely, because you're never going to remove that argument from someone, because look, Ryan's still going to go down for a week and people are probably still going to complain. But if I'm just being perfectly honest with you, 90% of Ryan's pre-fishing time was chasing bait. It was like, that's a fact. That's not me just saying that. That's a fact. JJ never once did more than 2 days of pre-fishing within 7 days of the event. Never once. Most of the time he did 1 day and he went back home. Like, what people don't understand is he would come up to the Ohio River on like a Tuesday, go back home till Thursday, come back up Friday, fish a little bit, and then fish a tournament Saturday morning. Like, and Adam Flegel would come from Kansas on a Wednesday. He would sleep in all day on Thursday. He wouldn't even get out on the water until 5 p.m. On Wednesday. Wouldn't get out on the water until 5 p.m. on Wednesday. And then him and Clint would fight about bait half the day on Thursday, and they would chase bait all day Thursday, and then they maybe would pre-fish Friday. Like, this rule does prevent it from being abused in the future, but I just want to be frank with everyone. This rule doesn't actually change anything for our best competitors last year. But this is also me listening to the people. Like, yeah, people complained about pre-fishing. Apparently my numbers are lower because of this. So I'm going to try and do something to help. But I'm also not going to hide behind the fact this doesn't actually change anything, because this doesn't affect Andrew Green, one of our better anglers. This doesn't affect him at all either, because he never puts more than 2 days on the water leading up to a tournament either. So I guess I'm shooting in my foot explaining it that way, but at the same time, I just want everyone to know, just in case those 4 anglers still do really well, I don't want someone saying, "Oh, the pre-fish, they cheated. They must have pre-fished 5 days. There's no way to police it." Of course, there's no way to police it unless you got someone on the water going up and down looking for kayakers every time. But here's the thing: if you cheat, like if you do get caught cheating in our scene, I will do everything in my power to absolutely ruin your name in the tournaments. It's not worth it. So they're not going to cheat. I just want to make sure everyone knows, if they do well again, it's because this doesn't actually affect them. This is just to try and help the narrative. Moving on. Competition area. Competitive fishing is allowed. Eligible water. That's just more blah, blah, blah. Legal jargon. Competitors are not allowed restricted fishing areas. Well, okay. Must not be anchored in such a position to prevent block access. That's fine. Fish caught in eligible water. Keep going. Competitors' watercraft must be launched before fishing, vacating. Okay. Again, that's just all legal jargon. Cooperation assistance. Cooperation and assistance essentially says you can't do anything for the other person other than help them take a picture. For safety reasons, you may tie off to another competitor's kayak. Like let's say you guys are trying to anchor and someone doesn't feel safe anchoring, you guys can tie off in an anchor position. That's perfectly fine. No one's really getting a competitive advantage there. But situations you cannot tie off to each other, you absolutely cannot tie off and drag because you're giving someone a competitive advantage they couldn't otherwise have. So the whole point of being allowed to tie off like in the anchor position per se, anyone could throw a hard anchor down. You know what I mean? There's no advantage to that. And in the kayak world, it's a little different because a lot of us, it's a buddy system. It's a lot safer to fish with somebody. And I don't want to penalize people who are fishing together if one doesn't feel safe. Boat world a little different. I don't see boats tying off to each other. I guess you technically could based off the rule, but I don't really see y'all tying off to each other too often. But yeah, and the towing, if you towing cannot be done for a competitive advantage. Great example. Someone did complain about this a few years back. Let's say your motor crashes and you fish all day with a hard anchor and you are 100 yards away from the tournament check-in boundaries. And you're fishing and your buddy's fishing next to you with a motor the whole time, but you're hard anchoring the whole time. And you just so happen to win the event. And then at the end of the event, tournament's over, your buddy pulls you into the checkout. There's no competitive advantage there. Like that's perfectly legal. In the boat world, I have seen this happen no less than 20 times, where at the end of a tournament, I'm going to weigh in and I see someone having to tow a shame, and they get towed in by somebody, and they still weigh their fish. Their fish are still completely like this isn't a weird like we didn't make anything up with this rule. Like boats tow each other all the time when they run out of gas, their engine dies, their trolling motor dies. Like they tow each other back to the weigh-ins all the time. Now, do some tournaments have a rule where you have to get back on your own power? I'm sure. But in the 20 or so times I've seen it, those people have gone back and went and weighed their fish. So as long as there's no competitive advantage, you may tow another angler. Let's say mid-tournament something happens. Let's say this is actually a better example. Let's say you're about a half mile away from the checkout and your buddy, his motor goes down and you tow him back. Well, none of you can fish during that tow. And then if that angler fixes his stuff, he has to now relaunch and he can start fishing. And it cannot be for a competitive advantage. If your buddy's kayak breaks down, you can't tow him farther away from the checkout and then he then launches to fish. Does that make sense? Because that is at a competitive advantage. You're taking him farther away to help him fish a new location. You need to bring him back so he can fix his stuff, and then he can go back out from there. Let's keep going. Fishing tackle equipment and methods. Read this. It's essentially state laws. The only rule that we really have that isn't state laws is I don't care what state you're in, 3 single hook maximum, period. And I don't care how you do it, unless the state doesn't allow 3. If the state only allows 1, it only allows 1. Let's see. You can share boards. Don't care unless the tournament says you can't. Keep going. Any form of bait is legal. Blah blah blah. No treble hooks. I know down in Carolina, we talked about allowing treble hooks for stinger hooks, and they explained to me that the way they do their stinger hooks is there's only 1 point showing anyway. And I thought about it when we were talking in person. It made sense. It did. It made sense. But the anglers that I was talking to are very good anglers, very respectable anglers, and like I know for a fact there's no funny business going on with them. But then I thought about it nationally, and I have to keep our standard rule book. Like I have to keep it. I have to be thinking about the national scene with the standard rule book. So I decided, like I've been thinking about it. I'm going to keep this rule with no treble hooks. What was that? Oh, I just saw it looked like a ghost. It was my son walking in the background. No treble hooks whatsoever, not even in a stinger hook. Even if you're hiding the other 2 hooks inside your bait and having one stick out, I'm still going to say no. And it's because of the national scene. It's not because of those 2 specific guys who were talking to me about it. I just thought about all the bad stuff that could potentially happen. So, for instance, you got, sawguy fishing is a great example. When you're, vertically jigging and stuff, and a lot of times they have a treble hook trailer. Um, I don't want anybody doing that, but now that we have live scope, I don't want anyone, sitting up on top of what they know is a flathead and vertically jigging a treble hook and snagging a flathead. Like, those are the things I have to think about. So the two anglers who talked to me, and I even told them, like, I'm probably going to change it. I do apologize. We're not changing that rule. I just, I just see someone taking advantage of it, and I also see it hurting a fish. I don't think you two are doing anything wrong or anything illegal when you're competing. I just have to think about the quality of the whole scene itself. You're gonna call me a hypocrite because the very, very next rule says you're allowed to use artificial lures, but that's a completely different animal. You aren't dropping an artificial lure to the bottom and snag like the majority of the time. So I do seem like a hypocrite that you're allowed to use an artificial lure but no treble hooks. But I don't see a treble hook without a lure. I just see that being an issue down the road. So I do apologize. There's no rod limit. Our statistical data does not support that more rods equals more success. I understand people cannot wrap their heads around, you have more baits, therefore you have more chances. The data just does not support that at all. Like, I have thousands of data points. The data doesn't support that whatsoever. So I'm never going to have a rod limit rule. It's always going to be the state rule. If you think you have an advantage at 12, run 12. If you don't think you need 12 and you want to run 3, run 3. Let's see here. Nets and grippers, whatever. If it breaks his line, we'll send the hook. Retrieving, just read that. Watercraft and propulsion. We do have an update here. So the update here is the gas motors. It used to be 2.5 miles an hour because, generally speaking, everybody was running a 12-volt motor with 55-pound thrust. So the general equivalent was 2.5 mile an hour or 2.5 horsepower motor. General, not 1-to-1, general. But then we had torpedoes and stuff come out. Manufacturer limits are like up to 6 horsepower on some of these kayaks too. Torpedoes and stuff, man, they're like rated like 7 or 8 horsepower if I'm not mistaken. So it doesn't make sense to have the 2.5 horsepower rule anymore. So we're just gonna make it less. I like less thinking. Whatever your manufacturer limit is, that is what you are allowed to have on your kayak. And we don't have any rules on motors. If you want to show up with a tiller that's 6 horsepower because your new canoe says you can have 6. I don't know. I'm making that up. I don't know if they're allowed 6. Let's say your new canoe says you can have 6 back there, and your kayak can float safely with a 55 or with a 24-volt motor on the front, and you want to use the tiller to get you to your spot, and you want to use the trolling motor up front, the GPS motor, to tactically fish. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it really does not matter to me. That's just more planning that you have to do. So. Also, gas motors, even at 6 horsepower, aren't really outdoing 24 volts, and we're trending to that we're trending to 24 volts being the standard. So I don't see an advantage there at like really at all. Let's see. Keep going. Towing, relocation of the word, including mother shipping, is not permitted in case of emergency, blah, blah, blah. We already talked about that, but we also talked about the fishing to maybe approve certain tournaments. If you're going to fish tandem with each other in a kayak tournament, let me know. I need to kind of case by case approve that. Believe it or not, we've actually had that a few times. So I have been able to target trophy cat. Not that you can. I just haven't learned it yet. I really don't think free, sir. Okay, I'm reading some comments. I've been following them, and I haven't seen an actual question yet. But Eric Jacob said, I don't think forward-facing sonar is only good for bait. Let's see. This is boring. Mike Dance, what you're talking. No. Dude, this is a boring one. Unfortunately, it's a boring one. So, yeah, will we get to the point where forward-facing sonar will be able to help you catch fish competitively? I'm sure. I don't know a single person who is actively, competitively, constantly taking top 5s, top 10s in every single tournament using forward-facing sonar yet. So once it gets to that, then yes, we'll have to make rules. But until it gets to that, I'm not making any rules. Photo standards, we go over that in videos. I'm not going over photo standards. I'm not going over scoring right now because we're going to go over that in actual, like, how to measure fish videos. Yeah, nope, not doing this anymore. I'm not going over this because we're going over this in more videos. Submitted to okay. Here's a good one on our month-long events. Your fish must be submitted to the leaderboard within 72 hours. That's to prevent sandbagging. I don't like sandbagging. I would like the turn. Like if we had perfect reception on all of our in-person lakes, it would be you have 1 hour to get your fish on the board. But the fact that we don't have perfect reception on every single lake we fish on, we don't have a sandbagging rule at in-person events or 24-hour events, etc. We don't. But month-longs, you have 72 hours to get that fish posted. This is a rule that I am not actively checking every single submission. However, if you submit a fish a week after you caught it, the competitor, all your competitors can see the date that you submitted it from. Let me show you an example. All your competitors can see dates that you submitted it from. So in the event, let me grab a. Here we go. So a whopping one person submitted. So when people are out here, if they see 11/3/24 and it just got put on the leaderboard and it's 11/10/24 and I get a message, hey, can you tell me when this picture was taken compared to when it was submitted? I can go in and compare. And if it's more than 72 hours old and you're in a month long, I will DQ the fish. I hate sandbagging. Some people think it's cute. Some people think there's some kind of competitive advantage to holding your fish. I don't see that at all unless you're within the last 3 days. I want the leaderboards to show offense. We want the leaderboards to show offense. This needs to be exciting. Sponsors, when they come in and give us money, they're like, this is one of our talking points. Our leaderboards are exciting. Thousands of people. We might, even in a tournament that we have 7 people in Louisiana, thousands of eyes are on it. I don't want those eyes on a tournament one time at the end of the day for 5 minutes. I want those eyes on the tournament all day long. And if some people think that's a millennial way of thinking, etc., I don't care because that's how I want it. I want it to be exciting. I want it to be a hockey match. I want it to be constant, boom, boom, nonstop action. I don't want it to be like the NFL. I don't want it to be 10 seconds and then a 40-second wait, and then 10 seconds and then a 40-second. I want it nonstop action all day long. Penalties. I can, at the acting president, which is me, what this is saying is at any point in time, I can make any rule I want, period, end of story. If there is something, if there's an argument over something, I can make any ruling. No, even if my ruling overrides or supersedes what's in this rule book in black and white, I can, in my judgment, make any ruling, period, end of story. Doesn't matter what is written in this rule book. Almost every single, and a lot of you guys won't know this, but almost every single professional sports league has this exact rule of some kind in their rule book where the umpire or referee can make a call, any call, regardless of if it's in the rule book or not, period, end of story. Now, that comes with a lot of power. I have not used this. This has been in our rule book since day one. I've never used this once. I've never abused this. This is really for like crazy situations and I have to make an uncomfortable call. So for instance, 2 of our anglers after an awards ceremony at a restaurant start fighting each other. And they start fist fighting and I get hold of the video and I see the person who swung first. We don't have it in the rule book about fighting. It wasn't during tournament time, etc. I have every right to ban both of you, to ban the person who swung first. That's kind of where this comes into play, where if I ban the person who threw the first punch, they can come back and say, well, you don't have a rule about fist fighting each other after a tournament, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll be like, yeah, I don't have that rule, but I also have a rule that says I can do whatever I want whenever I want. But I mean, again, this has never been used once. It never, ever gets used, but it's important to have it just in case. These are just examples of punishments I can do for fish, etc. I can force you to take a polygraph if I want to. I gotta pay for it. This just tells you what I'm responsible, selecting date, location, etc. Also, I don't think it's written in here. I'm the only person who has access to anything. All cords, everything, just me. We should allow fights like in hockey. That's funny. I mean, I'm not opposed, but both y'all got to talk to me about it ahead of time, and we got to figure out a way to make money on it. Like, if two anglers are so mad at each other they want to fight, we're gonna promote this somehow, and we're gonna make some kind of monetary gain off of it. God, I hope that doesn't go back to the wrong people. I'm just kidding, guys, but I'm not. No, taxes, sales, safety. So our safety, this changed last year. If you are in an in-person event, PFD usage is not optional. If you're in a boat, you can use state laws. That's fine. If you're in a kayak, you have to have your PFD on beginning to end, period. End of story. I don't care if it's hot, figure it out. Kayaks, if you're in a kayak and if you're in my event and if it's an in-person event where there's a check-in and a check-out, you have to have a PFD on beginning to end, period. End of story. If it is not an in-person event where there is a check-in or a check-out, it's state laws. So I don't condone this, but let's say Christopher Minahan is on the Scioto River and he's fishing our tournament and he has his life jacket off and he has a video posted of him holding a flathead up, but he has his life jacket in the kayak where it's reachable. Technically, that's legal because you don't have to have a life jacket on a kayak at all times. It has to be within reachable distance. Don't come complaining to me about him breaking the rules, because he's not going to get DQ'd. Am I going to yell at him? Yes. Am I going to tell him he just gave us a black eye? Yes. Is he going to apologize to me? More than likely. But I I'm not going to. Where do I go? I care about everyone's safety. I want everyone to wear a PFD. But the problem is, you also got to. There has to be a give and take somewhere. Like month-long events, if you want to risk it for the biscuit, hey, that's a you problem. Like that's a you issue. I don't condone it. Also, just so you know, I do have insurance. If you get hurt, etc., there is a 0% chance insurance is going to cover you if you get found to not have a life jacket on. Like, just so you know, if you get hurt in one of my events and your insurance doesn't cover it to a certain point, I do have secondary insurance that kicks in. But if you're not wearing a life jacket, I doubt you're covered. Like that's the risk you're taking. So I have the right to postpone or cancel, etc., whenever I want. I rarely ever take advantage of that. We had to do it at Hoover last year, but again, remember, guys, for Hoover specifically, there are literally reporters and people who know nothing about fishing trying to get fishing tournaments removed from Hoover permanently. So if the wet forecast at Hoover shows any kind of like heavy wind, bad pressure system coming in, I don't have a choice. I have to postpone it a day. I don't have a choice. There's been multiple deaths on that lake the last few years. Unfortunately, one of them has happened in competition. And there are reporters who have absolutely no idea what they're talking about, who are just waiting for a reason to grandstand and get tournaments kicked off of Hoover permanently. So yes, some people might say Nickajack conditions were worse, Sandusky conditions were worse. Yes, they were all worse. The boat guys in the other tournament scenes that were crapping on us for, oh, look at the kayak guys for canceling a tournament in not so bad conditions. Look, we fish in 10 times worse conditions than you do most of the time. When I'm out there, if I'm fishing on the Ohio River, there's normally not a boat in sight when there's 3'4" rollers. You know what I mean? It's not that we're weak. It's that specific lake. I just want to make that very clear. So yeah, if Hoover, and keep that in mind, if you're coming from a long way, if Hoover seems to be like it's going to be bad and unsafe, be prepared to fish Sunday. That's our backup day. Comparator conduct, essentially, be nice. Also, if I have a zero tolerance policy for social media. Like if you're going to bash me on social media, that's fine. I'm going to block you from all of our stuff. You're still allowed to fish our stuff. I'm not going to censor you. Like you can still fish all my stuff. I don't care. But I will block you from everything. And then you got to figure out the tournaments on your own. Like you won't get updates. Great example. Corey Grubb a few years back got really upset with me. So he started bashing me online on a bunch of social media outlets. I blocked him from every single thing we have, which is fine. He's not banned. He can fish in any tournament he wants. That's fine. Like you can say whatever you want about me, but it's my choice to not have it flood on my screen. So yeah, like if you want to have terrible social media skills about our scene, that's fine. I'm not going to ban you. I'll probably ask you like, hey, that's not cool. And if you continue, then I'll just block you from everything, and then you can figure out how to sign up for the tournaments on your own from there on out. Public comments again. It essentially says like I have the right to ban and block you if you say anything bad about us on social media. But again, like I got thick skin. Like say what you want, I'll block you. Figure it out on your own. Force majeure, compliance with laws. This is like essentially saying you're going to follow all the laws. Name and likeness. Okay, so if you have any social media whatsoever, if you post any social media whatsoever during any event that we have, I have full rights to it. I'll never, I can essentially say I'll never take advantage of this. But just so you know, like if I see you're competing in something and you're on YouTube, I have full rights to clip anything from that YouTube clip. If you mention that you're in our tournament and post it to our social media or use it for OCT content. I mainly have this as a rule so I cannot get sued on the front end. For instance, he's never sued me and he wouldn't care. But let's say I post something with Kayak Catfish's YouTube, like he has a YouTube. He always talks about our tournaments. Let's say I go on YouTube, I snatch something from his YouTube, I post it to our YouTube. It's within one of our videos. He gets a notification on his YouTube channel that someone has jacked his content. He cannot send me, I mean, he could try, but he can't send me a cease and desist. Like, that's not, I'm completely legal. What he can and should do is send me a message saying, hey, Mike, you used my stuff. I don't want you using my stuff. Would you mind taking it down? I'm going to say yes. I'm not going to turn around and say, no, you signed a waiver saying I could use whatever I want. No, I'm not a child. This is just preventing me from being sued without me being known I'm being sued. So if you have any social media, I could use all your social media posts. If you mention that you're in an OCT event without your permission, if I do, and you somehow find out I do, and you want me to take it down, send me a message. I will 99% of the time take it down immediately. I won't fight back. I don't know why you would. It's just promoting us both, but I won't fight back. This is mainly just to keep me from, somebody very popular suing me without me knowing. Waiver and release the liability, essentially saying, we're not liable for anything. COVID-19, that was a complete joke. We found out essentially all that was just, never mind. But nevertheless, we have all that in here. Name, likeness, again, all that, blah, blah, blah. Let's see here. And then, hereby release, blah, 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 more COVID-19 garbage. And we're good. All right. 47 minutes. That way, a lot longer than I wanted. We hovered over 10 people the entire time. I'm pretty sure some of the people who needed to see this, probably didn't watch it. And when I messaged them saying, hey, you broke a rule this year, and they're like, you never told me. Like, yeah, we did a 48-minute long live on it. So, we're not Austin. We are not fishing we are not fishing Hoover Sunday. The King Cat is fishing Saturday. The normal tournament is the following Sunday. Sunday is King Cat's backup day. That actually is what happened this past year. We were supposed to be Saturday. The Hoover series, their normal series, was supposed to be Sunday. I postponed from Saturday to Sunday. I had to. That was what the forecast said I had to do. Sunday ended up not being great either. Everyone and their mother was sending me a message. My app saying this. My app saying this. We'll be fine. The history of Ohio, when this app says this, we're going to be fine. I can't. Like, my hands are tied. I don't know if you guys remember a few years back that boat tournament down on Wheeler where everyone and their mother said the opposite. They said, you have to cancel this, you have to cancel this, you have to cancel this. And they didn't. And half the Sea Arc sunk that tournament. Like, an administrator has to protect his anglers from themselves at some point as well. So, all right. We're out of here. I don't see anyone with any questions. Is Ohio Link Series? Yeah. The Ohio Link Series is a day after. So yes, the Ohio Link Series. But in that case, so if Hoover ends up getting bumped back a day, then you'll have the option of fishing both. You can fish Hoover and the Ohio Link Series while you're there, which is actually what happened last year. We had a bunch of guys who were there for the national scene and ended up just ended up double dipping. So, but I don't want to talk about trail specific anything. Any questions? I'm going to leave it open for like another 20 to 30 seconds if there's no questions regarding the rule book. If I hurt any feelings, if anyone feels like I said too much about anything, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Um, I'm I'm very proud of being one of the most transparent uh, administrators that I know. I guess that's kind of a gross tap yourself on the back, but Derek Patterson, that's not about the rules. But there will be 2 tournaments that night. There'll be a weight one and a length one. The monthly startup in April. For Seneca, there'll be a weight and there'll be a length tournament at the same exact time. If you're in the weight division, you're more than welcome to hop in the length division. Just remember, you have to have a muskie bumper. Monthly startup in April. Everything starts in April except for the King Cat series that starts on March 22nd. Ironically, that wasn't even supposed to start till April. That one, that one was a typo, and people already know this. I don't go back on stuff. I don't circumvent stuff. There's already been things where people have wanted to add and take away, and I just tell people once we post something, it's good. Unfortunately, right now in the tournament administration world, there is way too much of we say X, change it to Y, or tournament rules are A, B, and C, and then the week of the tournament we change them to D, E, F. That has to stop. If you're a tournament administrator and you have done that in the last few years, and if I'm ruffling your feathers, I don't care. That has to stop because we're all getting a bad name. So the guys who have made suggestions to me this year to change little things here and there, and I said no because we already posted it. I do apologize, but I'm not. I'm not going to be in that. I'm not going to be in that section of administrators who are known to change stuff last minute nonstop. Month long starting in April. Oh, great. I'm not doing a big fish month long. Andrew Green in his Texas group on the app, he is doing month long. So let me show you how to get to his group real quick. He's doing the big fish month long. So let me go to dashboards, my clubs, Texas Kayak Catfishing Club. I don't know if he has it up or not yet, but okay. So he'll have it up. He will be doing the big fish month long. So I will be promoting. If you want to do a big fish month long, it'll be here, Texas Kayak Catfishing Club. If you want, I'm running a slot and I'm running a regional in Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky regional. Both of those will start in April. Actually, let's join the member. Let's see here. If you want to become a member, I already own the selected plan, so I don't have to. I'm such a child. Let's see here. No, gross. Oh, it's professional kayak anglers. No wonder hold on one second. So Andrew Green's is professional kayak. Oh, I forgot. I knew that. I knew that. I knew that. There we go. There's your stuff, guys. There's all your stuff. Okay. While I'm here, we're gonna join. Continue. All right. I'm gonna get it later. Sorry, I forgot. All my stuff like literally just a few days ago all expired. So I got it back. Get it back in. Expire payment method. All right. Well, let's get off that. Any more questions before we hop off here? You know, being under an hour for a rules review is pretty good, especially considering we had 11 pages. I went a little long-winded on a couple things. Actually, here's a good rule that I didn't go over. You have to release in our scene every fish you catch, period, end of story, except if they're under 25 inches. If they're under 25 inches and you want to utilize them as bait and or food, that's fine. If you submit a fish to our scene in a tournament, you have to release it unless it's under 25 inches. Then you can keep it as food or as bait. And the reason I have that rule in here is when I first started this, the other scene, I was like, so we cut up bluegill, wiper, striper, perch, sawguy, walleye, skipjack. We cut up all these other fish. We use all these other fish that all these other fishermen use and are chasing. And our rule book says we can't cut up our own species Like, that's extremely hypocritical. Like, that is extremely hypocritical. So I was like, that's a stupid rule. We're getting rid of that rule. You can say I don't care about conservation. You're an idiot if you say that. Everyone who knows me knows it's the number one priority for me. So if it's 25 inches or shorter, you can use that as bait. Cut them up, kill them, eat them. Don't care. If it's over 25 inches and you submit it to a tournament, you have to release them. Will we have a belt buckle for a month-long Angler of the Year? Huh. We'll see. We'll see. I'm trying to decide. Maybe we'll do a belt buckle. Maybe I'll just ask Fleagle's guy to make us some more stuff. Close some of the tabs. I only got one open. All right. Any more questions? If I see any more, I want to see if I got a picture. Got a picture of what? Oh, yours. Okay, he's saying his series has a belt buckle. Okay, that's cool. We will have a belt buckle for our month-long Angler. Okay, got it. All right, Ryan Bortz. Okay. I don't have tabs up, dude. I literally have one tab. Any more questions? Any more questions? All right, I'm gonna cut this live stream off. Probably play some Rocket League and listen to it back just to make sure I didn't swear or anything. And thank you guys. All the tournaments that we have coming out, we will have videos dedicated to each specific series, their boundaries, their rules. That's all coming out within the next week. We'll have videos on how to measure fish, all that kind of stuff. I'll go back and rewatch the videos from last year on how to measure fish. If I don't have to remake them, maybe I won't, but I do like to go fresh. All right, Kayak Mike out of here. Have a good one, guys.